Welcome out here to the Iowa State University Beef Teaching Farm. Today we're going to go over how we set up for our fall calving season. So some of you that have been with us here for a while maybe saw how we set up our spring calving facility, which is actually at a completely different location. So our spring herd is where the bulk of all of our purebred Angus and Simmental cows are at. Our fall herd though, because we have class work here, we need to have two different life cycle and production cycles of cattle for the students. We have a fall calving herd. Our fall calving herd is mostly managed as a commercial herd. We will also use them to put in, we'll use them as recipient cows for embryos. All of our fall cows are just a regular commercial cow. We do a little bit of AI work. As I said, we use them as ET recip cows from time to time. If we're don't have a little bit of a project going on, we'll just bull cover those cows. So it's a really good example for us to show students how to manage a commercial herd, kind of something different than just our seed stock herd. So we're going to still keep our calving window really tight, just as we would in our spring herd. When we set up to fall calve though, instead of using our spring facility, we like to move our fall cows around. We used to dry lock calve these cows. I went away from that about 4 or 5 years ago. There was a short time in there where we dry lock calved them. Now we're back out to what we call pasture calving. Where the fall cows really work in nice is we actually use them as the beginning of a renovation on our pastures. So the last thing that a pasture will do here is be used as a fall calving pasture, because then it makes a really natural transition in the spring for us to go ahead and start our renovation series on it. So by doing that, we get to move our fall cows around this farm. We've got 26 different paddocks on this farm, not including hay fields and things. So in theory, every 26 years, we'll be back to the same spot. What that allows us to do is really manage our pathogen load on this farm. Years ago, we used to calve our spring cows and our fall cows in the same place, and we started to have some scour issues. And what we started doing then was splitting those herds apart by not calving in the same area, and it's made scours almost a non-existent issue for us. What we've got behind us here, we're actually on the extreme south end of our farm, which is kind of the side of the farm that we haven't done much for renovations on. If you look over here on the north side where I'm pointing, those are our cows that have to calve yet. They've got a water source actually up in a lot, and then another shade allotment up in our extreme west lot. That's also the easiest pen for us to see. We can come in at night and we can drive all the way along the side of that pen with a pickup. We can check those cows really easily. We brought them in there ahead of time into a millet and sorghum blend, and we grazed it down. So we've got a really clean area for those cows to calve that then in the spring we're going to go ahead and reseed. After our cows calve, we actually move them over into this other paddock where you can see we've got a windbreak and a calf shelter set up over the hill. We've got a shade up here for mom, and then we've got a frost-free tire tank up here. So we've got a really good frost-free water option. We've got shade for those cows, and then we've got protection for the calves. Our biggest challenge, or calf survivability, is actually in our fall herd, not our spring herd. The reason for that is that we have such a large extreme of temperatures in a very short amount of time in our fall herd. We used to start calving our fall herd about the second to the last week of August. Actually, historically, it had been during the Iowa State Fair. We've since moved that back to the 1st of September is when we start, and then we're going to be done about the first part of November. The reason for that is it got me a little bit out of the extreme heat that we started to run into. If we have a little calf get through a wire and get away from mom, maybe somebody misses it, maybe mom's not a very good mom, we'll have a higher chance of losing that calf due to dehydration in a fall herd and extreme heat than we will losing a calf to cold in our spring herd. That's why we make sure that we don't have a lot of poor fences that these calves can get through. The nice part is that these calves learn what an electric fence is at a very early age, and we don't have a lot of problems out in our pear pasture with these calves getting away from those cows. These cows are going to stay here for about another 30 days. We're actually going to have to start supplementing these cows because they're getting grazed through this paddock. And then we're actually going to start these cows out on our tillage radish and turnips, and they will actually utilize our cover crops on the farm. Where we differ a little bit is that we use our cover crops for our fall pairs. Our fall pairs go out and utilize our cover crop. It's actually the highest quality feed that we have on the farm that time of year. Historically, the challenge has been with us in our fall herd is how do we keep the feed cost low, because that cow's nutritional requirements are running exactly inverse to the quantity of feed that I have available. In the state of Iowa, we have corn stalks available in the spring, or in the fall, which makes a very natural setup for a spring cow that's had a calf weaned off of her and a very low energy requirement to go out and utilize that crop. However, a fall cow is going to be in peak lactation at that time. So she actually requires a much higher quality feed, and that's why we brought the cover crops in on our pasture renovation series to really make use of that instead of having to feed these cows with a feed wagon and a TMR ration as many days. Sitting ahead of us right now, we've got about 50 acres of cover crop available, and that'll last pretty much all through until we can't graze that crop anymore. We'll probably have to start feeding these fall cows an actual complete ration sometime around the end of December, first part of January. Right now the big question is if we're going to get any more rain. We had enough to get that crop started, but we're a little bit short to get a lot of adequate growth on that crop. So we still have enough feed ahead of us that if we need to feed these cows their whole ration, we can, but it's a really nice cost-effective way that we can have these fall cows around and not break the bank feeding them at the same time. We're going to process all of our calves at 12 hours of age, just the same as we do in our spring herd. This is kind of a hands-off herd. We assist them if we need to. Next week, I think we're going to be up going through what we actually have for portable calving facilities. Where our spring herd differs from our fall herd is that this entire calving setup that we have for our fall herd is 100% portable, down to the building that we use. We have 4 pens to lock up cows if we need them. We can make a few more pens outside if we need to, but for the most part, we just use those pens to process calves. This is a really fault-free set of cows and makes it really fun and makes them a really good land management tool and a really cost-effective way to run a fall herd without a ton of infrastructure cost and being locked into one specific setup that we have on the farm.